In this tutorial, we're going to recreate Havana by Camila Cabello, and this is in BandLab on the computer, and I'm using Google Chrome. First step, change your BPM to 110. You can just click in the box and type in the numbers. We're going to go to Add Track and add a virtual instrument. We're going to go in here, scroll up, and change this to Bright Piano. Click away. Go up to the timeline and double click. That will open the MIDI editor and give you 1 bar of music. Scroll down until you can find G2. There's G2. Double click to input a note. Drag it out to 1.2. Find D3. Double click in D3 on 1.2. Drag this in so that it's 2 boxes long and do another one straight away. Find E flat, it's this note here. Make sure it's 2 boxes long and add another one immediately after. Drag this one out, 2 more boxes. Double click in D2, double click in the space next to it, and it will extend the piece of music so that you have 2 bars of music. Delete that note and move this one across. Make sure it stays on D. Find A2. Make sure it's 2 boxes long. Then D, make sure it's D3. Drag it out so that it's 4 boxes. Scroll across and drag it out 4 more boxes. Now find F sharp. Click at the same spot as the D, and it should replicate the length of the D. Find A3, and then finally C4. Listen to that. You're going to place an E flat just above C4. If this happens, drag the note back in so that it's only 2 boxes long, and then move it across to the correct place, which is here, and then put notes at D4. If you miss the spot, make sure you drag it up to the correct place. There's one more bit to add, and we're going to go back to the beginning of the piano part. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to drag this up so that I can see the whole piano part. At 1.2, we're going to find G4. And at 1.2, we're going to double click to enter. Drag it out so that it fills the whole space between 1.2 and 1.3. Now put in the note B flat and D. The next bit is at 1.4, G, B flat, but this time we're going to put in E flat, and I'm just double clicking to add these in. Let's listen to it. Go up to the mixer area and find the loop symbol. Drag this out so that you repeat it 4 times. This is the loop function. I've now looped my MIDI for 4 sections, or 8 bars. Let's add the next instrument. Add track, again, virtual instruments. Click on Studio Grand, find electric basses, and find the 62p bass. Click away. Double click in this area, and drag it out from the bottom so that it goes for 2 bars. Go down to the MIDI editor area, and we're going to start with G1. Double click, and drag it out to 1.3. At 1.3, find E flat. Drag it in to 1.4. At the 3rd box of 1.4, double click and add a D. Zoom out a little bit, and then drag it out so that you go to the 3rd box of 2.4. Listen to it. Use the loop function to drag this out so that you have 4 sections, just like the piano. We're now going to add the percussion. Virtual instruments, click on Studio Grand, find drum kits, and choose Afro-Cuban percussion. You can preview the sounds by clicking on these boxes or pressing the keys. But we're going to use the MIDI editor again. Double click in the space, drag it out from the middle or bottom area so that it goes all the way to 3 so that you have 2 bars of music. Add this kick drum. It's actually a conga. Add 1, halfway through 1.2 and 1.3. Then halfway through 1.4. Then the beginning of 2.2 and 2.4. We're going to add this one at 1.2 and 1.4. Double clicking to input. This one at 1.2, 1.4, and halfway through 1.4. Then 2.2, 2.4, and halfway through 2.4. This one at 1, halfway through 1.2 and 1.4. Then 2.2 and 2.3. We're going to do the same for this one, which is actually the tambourine. And finally the cowbell at 1, 1.2, and halfway through 1.2, then halfway through 1.3 and 1.4, then 2, 2.2, and halfway through 2.2, halfway through 2.3, and 2.4. Listen to it. Let's add the solo button so we can just hear the percussion. Then drag this out so that you have 4 sections. Turn off solo. There's one part of this percussion section that's missing. Go add track, virtual instruments, click on Studio Grand, go to drum kits, and go to Latin. Double click in the area. And we're going to add this pedal hi-hat, which is actually a shaker. Double click in the first box, then 1.2 and halfway through 1.2, then halfway through 1.3 and 1.4. You can now drag this one out so that it's the same length as the others. Let's listen to it. We're going to add the second section of the song. Let's start with the shaker. Move the cursor so that it's at number 9. Double click in the area, find that shaker again. Double click on 9, drag it out so that it fills 2 boxes. Double click in the third box and double click at 9.2. Then double click halfway through 9.3 and halfway through 9.4. Go back to your percussion and double click in the area. We're going to do the same rhythms as the shaker. Just zoom out a little bit, double click at 9 and try and copy the instruments that you've got from the previous section. Double click halfway through 9. Double click at 9.2. Then halfway through 9.3 and halfway through 9.4. Listen to it. Let's go up to the bass. Double click in the bass area. Go into the MIDI editor and we're going to start at G1. Double click at G1. Zoom out a little bit and drag this back so that it's 2 boxes only. Double click in the third box of 9 and double click at 9.2. Then halfway through 9.3, we're going to find E flat. And then halfway through 9.4, we're going to find D, which is here. Double click in the next bar to give you more space. Delete that by double clicking on it. Zoom out a little bit. And drag the end of this so that it goes halfway through 10.4. Listen to it. Let's add the piano. Double click at 9. Drag it out from the middle or bottom so that it goes to 11. We're going to put a G. Double click here. Drag it to halfway. Double click again in the third box. And then at 9.2. Find E flat and put it in halfway through 9.3. Put a D halfway through 9.4. Drag it out so that it goes to halfway through 10.4. The chords on top are G, B flat, and D. Do that 3 times, the same rhythm as everything else. Then G, B flat, and E flat. F sharp, A, and C. Drag these out so they're the same length as the note at the bottom. Listen to it. Loop the piano so that it repeats 4 times. Loop the bass so that it also repeats 4 times. The percussion we're not going to loop, but instead we're going to copy it by right-clicking and choosing copy. Then go to 11 and paste it. Do that again at 13 and at 15. We're going to do the same with the shaker. Listen to the whole track. Change the name of all the instruments so you don't forget what they are. Double click in the area and change the name. Don't forget to hit save. Don't forget to change the name of your file and hit save.